Are you looking to do deals and master flipping houses? Welcome to the Do Deals Show with our host, Mr. Tim Mai. As a successful investor and mentor to many real estate investors, Tim's students consistently run 6- and 7-figure investing businesses. Each week, you'll hear from top real estate investors who share the best strategies, systems, and secrets that you can use to be more successful. Tim and his guests will pull back the curtain for you to learn their exact tactics, tricks, and tools that are working best right now in today's real estate market. Now, let's welcome Mr. Tim Mai.
All right, hi everybody. This is Tim Mai. Welcome to this interview. Today I have Tamera Aragon on the line with us today. Tamera is an amazing real estate investor as well as a real estate investing coach. She helps people do what she does. She's been a real estate investor for over 13 years now, and has done many different types of deals and have ran a local RIA group. She have done over 400 deals. She's a mother of 2, and I wanted her story about her first deal was really amazing. So I wanted to ask Tamera to share that with you, how she did her first deal and how she made $67,000 profit on the deal without any of her money in the deal. So Tamera, welcome.
Well, hi. Thanks for having me, Tim. I'm so excited to be here. Well, my first deal, let's see. It was so long ago. What I was doing is I had sent out letters and actually was handwriting them because I didn't have a lot of money. I was working a full-time job, and this was part-time because it was my first deal. I hadn't done my deal yet. And somebody had actually held on to one of my letters that I had sent to somebody in pre-foreclosure. And he called me and said he had held on to it because I put a little positive motivational message at the bottom of them, and he saved it. He called me and said he was ready to sell his. I'm praying for you. And I put, that's all I said. I'm praying for you in a little cross, and I meant it. I always put a little bit of love in all those letters I sent out. So yeah. So he called and said, I'm ready to sell. And I was like, oh crap, I have to write a contract. I don't even know how to do that. But I did. So I didn't even put a dollar amount on it. So I wrote the contract so I wouldn't be nervous in front of him. And I showed up to this house, and this poor guy opens the door, and he just looks so sad. He opens the door, and he thanked me for coming, and he brought me into his home, and it was dark, and it had graffiti everywhere. And we literally sat on a box in the middle of his living room, just sat on the box. And we started talking about some of the hardships he'd experienced. So I think that was a key, connecting with someone's really important, and showing some empathy and care when you're dealing with difficult situations, which as a real estate investor, unfortunately, that is oftentimes where we come into play, where there's a difficult situation. And well, the house kind of smelled like cat urine. It didn't look pleasant. It was like the typical, something that you'd see on TV. But he just said, I just asked him a question. Do you want to know what that question was? It's such a simple question. What do you want, John? What do you want? How can I help you today? And what he told me was that he wanted $20,000 over what he owed on his mortgage. And I could do that. I'd already done some due diligence before I had been out there. So I knew my numbers in my head. So I filled in the dollar amount. He signed on the spot. And this is the kind of weird part that that just doesn't happen very often. He literally handed me the keys to his house, handed me the contract and the keys to the car in the driveway that wasn't running, and left me standing in this urine-filled, graffiti-looking dark house with a contract that I don't even know if I filled out right, a set of keys to a car that doesn't run, and the keys to the house. And he just said, let me know when I can pick up my check. And he walked out. So there I was standing, wondering how I was going to figure all this out because, I didn't have a lot of money. Well, you don't know, but this was when I started, and I didn't have a lot of money at this time. So I did what any smart person would do is I called some friends in and let's get cleaning up this place. So you're going to help me out. So I called my husband and I called some friends and we cleaned it up and added some paint to it, some lipstick as people call it, and fixed it up a little bit. And it took about maybe 2 to 3 weeks of taking dump loads with teenagers, and I had kids around helping out. And then I'm thinking, okay, so I can't really buy this house because I don't have any money, and no one taught me any technique. So I mean, I know that I'm going to use words that what they are, which I'll use them at the end here, but I didn't know technique. I just knew I can maybe get someone else to buy the house and put the money in escrow to pay for it, and somewhere in the middle I could collect money. So I did take the money to title, but I did something kind of silly. I didn't even put $1 down on that contract, which, if you know anything about contracts, that's not really a contract. So I did a lot of really silly things. I'm fixing the house up before I own it. I don't have $1 on the contract. It's sitting in title, and I'm marketing the house, which now is very wrong, as I put a for sale sign on the front, and everything else as if it's mine. And I actually did it. I actually found a buyer to put money in escrow to cover my sale and over. And I ended up taking, without putting but the little bit to fix it up, the lipstick, which is very minor. Actually, it was an $80,000 check I ended up getting, but after paying realtor fees and all the stuff in the middle that I didn't have to come up with, it was a $67,000 check. And for me, working an average full-time job, $67,000 on one deal was like heaven sent. And he was happy. He got his $20,000. The house was happy. The neighbors were thrilled. The house was gorgeous, and we were, done putting that lipstick on. And that's my first deal. So, cha-ching! We were excited. We were in business. I quit my job actually the very next day. Lifestyle freedom is what I'm about, and it had been my motivation for knocking on doors and handwriting letters for the last 1 year. It took me to get that deal. So. Yeah, it's pretty cool, and I haven't looked back since. So
that's amazing. And just out of curiosity, so was that one check bigger than your yearly salary?
It was bigger than my yearly salary. It was actually just a little bit above. Yep. Yeah. Of course. Are you kidding me? I was in it, man. In it to win it. After that, me and the girl that I did this with, her name was Michelle. We'd end up working together for like 5 years. We flew. We just hit the ground running, and it was great.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and my takeaway from what you just shared is that, like, you would, even though you didn't know what you were doing, you were just like in action, figuring it out as you went along.
Yep. Scared to death. So, yeah, I always say in my talking about that, I think and you just identified it, the key is that feel the fear and do it anyway. Whoever said that. Just do it. You're never going to have it perfect, right?
Awesome.
Just do it.
All right, everybody. We're gonna end the Facebook Live part of our interview now and continue with the rest of our interview. If you like this so far, make sure you press like, share it with your friends, and be on the lookout for when we post the entire interview. All right. With that, we'll see you later. All right, Tamera. Let's take us back. Take us back from what even got you interested in real estate investing.
Oh, that's a good story. Okay, well, here goes. So I was an entrepreneur young. I'm gonna give a 3-minute version of like 20 years of my life, but. Basically, I went to college for merchandising, got a really good job after an AA, even though I had planned on going farther, but I never wanted a job. I always knew I was just going to be doing something on my own. So what I did was, it was in the area of design and merchandising, and everybody was going into this high fashion industry. And there's this moral to this. It'll bring me back to real estate. I decided that I want to sell clothing to those in nursing homes. Again, out of the box, I'm thinking those poor people are sitting in the nursing home. They can't get out and shop. What if I brought them clothes and they can pick and choose? So I called the nursing homes, and they were all over it. And long story short, at 5 o'clock after work one day, I drove my uncle's barbershop UPS style truck, the kind you step in with no door, and I knew where to purchase clothes because of my degree. I had saved $2,100 over my from high school through college years. I purchased clothes, some hangers, a rack, and this truck I made payments on with my uncle. anyway, I didn't even know if it was going to work, but I showed up at 5 o'clock to my first appointment to bring clothing in. And I just remember being really touched because they were so excited. Imagine sitting in a nursing home and never getting a chance to get out and pick your own clothes anymore. Just people bringing you stuff. So they were just, I mean, there were some that had little tears in their eyes. So first, that was really cool. Second of all, I made $500 in 1 hour from social money they were getting anyway. So I wasn't taking it. I mean, it was money that was supposed to go to clothes. And so I was in business. So 6 trucks later, 8 to 10 years later, everything's fabulous, multi-million-dollar company. My mom's working for me, my sister's. Life is like, couldn't be better. I was a little bit of a lot of a haughty, pretty proud, I got really, I want to say big, in the head. So I think that's why stuff like this sometimes hits you out of nowhere. So then there was a recession. Oh, I also got married and had a son and had flipped horses instead of houses. I had 17 Arabian horses. I love horses still, down to 1. I'm not flipping them now. I'm just enjoying. But that was my first flipping experience. I'd buy them, fix them up, and sell them. I'd buy them when they were little, get them trained. And so I made a lot of money at that. But then the whole market turned. Everything turned. And then the worst thing happened is that the nursing homes, the government took the opportunity for money to be coming from the nursing homes. They wanted to handle the money themselves. So I started becoming a nonprofit. I would show up with clothes and everybody would enjoy touching them, but they had no money to buy them because it was in a facility the government owned called. So make a long story short, 2 years of that, little by little, slowly but surely, bankruptcy, foreclosure, led to divorce. My mom ended up getting cancer and died as I was living with her during this time. And my one joy in my life, my son, was my one joy in my life. And then what happened, probably because all that was on my mind, I went out and got in a major car accident. I was bedridden for several months. Literally got from multi-million to zero in like 2.5 years, to zero, down to nothing. So when I'm talking, I had no money. I had to borrow $5,000 and I was so blessed. This was after 2 years after the accident to buy some training from a book I read that I really enjoyed. And it was a Mark Victor Hansen, Robert Allen book. And they were around and I went and saw them and they threw out the offer and I had no money at all. And I left the break and called my friend and said, can I put $5,000 on your credit card? So I did. And they taught one of the multiple streams of income was real estate. Well, I thought I had just died and gone to heaven. I get to use this creative stuff that I enjoyed doing in my merchandising and help other people in distressed situations. And I just really enjoy fixing up neighborhoods. So everything about it just seemed right. And then my entrepreneurial side, I continue to do the online business that I still do. Or at the time it was something a little bit different than it is today. But basically, I've always ran 2 businesses, 2 sides. So you asked me how I got started. That's how I got started. They taught me how to write the letters and they taught me how to, they kept me motivated with the group coaching calls. So that's how I got started. But really, the thing that sent me over the edge when I finally got that money was when I could get a mentor and a coach to actually walk me through the stuff. So I wouldn't be writing contracts that could get me in jail or, fixing up houses on a contract that the whole house could have been taken back from me. I mean, so many things could have gone sideways. So yeah, so then I had the money to do that. And since then I've spent lots of money, well spent, with people that have, and joined masterminds with a lot of people that you might even know, Tim. And it's been a great ride. So
that's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so now fast forward, 400 plus deals later. What are some of the ways that you've been using to find deals?
Well, there's the typical that everybody understands, which is direct mail, and that brings in some stuff for me. But I think one thing that a lot of people don't really pay a lot of attention to is that this really is a people business. I get a very large percentage of my deals today, my good deals, the things that I say a deal is something that I can get at a discount, isn't from necessarily just direct mail. A good percentage is from other people. And I think the term that a lot of people understand Some people don't because they're like, what? How did that name come around? It's a bird dog. Tim, do you think people understand what a bird dog is?
I would say half of the people listening might understand, the other half probably don't.
Okay. Well, a bird dog is somebody that would watch the bird fall and then bring you the bird. That, like when you're hunting, you shoot it, the bird falls, the dog gets the bird and brings it to you. Well, I guess I could say I'm shooting by saying, hey, bring me your deals. Well, people bring me addresses and names and phone numbers, and I pay them a referral fee. So I do get a lot of that. I've also connected with a lot of cash buyers out there, a lot of people who buy properties by going to things like, have you ever heard of meetup.com? Yeah. So if anyone hasn't used that, go there and type in your city and type in the word real estate investing, and you'll find there are groups like I used to run. And I've met a ton of people at meetups. They could be other wholesalers, which is another, I guess a wholesaler is something that I do nationwide. So I do two things really, Tim. I buy cash myself and buy properties in my more surrounding areas. This is what I'm doing today. And then when somebody brings me a property that's not in an area where I understand, I will find a cash buyer there that is wanting to buy the contract that I get under. So, and that's called wholesaling. So meetups introduced me to a lot of local wholesalers and cash buyers and other investors, and we trade off. I mean, everything. I'm not a bottomless pile of billions of dollars, and personally, I don't want everything. I have criteria. So.
Right. So let's get into that. Share with us some ideas on how does an investor go about recruiting, an army of bird dogs to go out there to find them deals.
Well, there's probably lots of different ways. Things that have worked for me are bandit signs. I always have bandit signs out in my local area so that pretty much it says I buy houses, and people call. And I get both cash buyers calling and sellers calling. A lot of other investors call because they want to do the same thing. A second way that's worked really well for me is ads on Craigslist. So in the for sale by owner area, I'll put, are you looking for houses? I always have them, an ad there. And then houses wanted. There's two different places you can put that. And then Facebook, oh my gosh, there's a ton of real estate investing groups. I'm sure you know. You're one. A lot of places where real estate investors hang out. Just introduce yourself and say, I'm looking to connect in some areas you'd like to connect. And you'd be surprised at how many people are happy to, get to know you. Just say, I'm looking for good deals. If you find them, bring them to me if you're the buyer, or if you find them, bring them to me. I have cash buyers, or can I bring my deals to you if I look for them? Because I don't have cash buyers. But either way, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn is another way, that I found to reach out. And then, of course, like I just said, Craigslist and bandit signs. Those would probably be the best ways to network, I guess we'll call it, with other people doing the business.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, at one point, I know you ran a local real estate investing club yourself as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a couple years.
Okay. And so, did running a club like that bring you a lot of business? And do you recommend others to do that in their local market areas?
Absolutely. It created credibility. It did take a lot of time because I don't do things small. I ended up having in Stockton, maybe to you this might not be, but we ended up having like 150 people on some nights. I see a lot of RIA groups out there that have 5 people or 10 people, and that's good for those groups. So I did it right. I brought in people that I knew in the business, a lot of really good name speakers, and provided a lot of value so people would want to come. But absolutely, it put me in a place where people looked up and wanted to bring me deals and understood I was the real thing. I'm doing it. So.
And did you get a lot of deals being the head of such a club?
I'd say, every day I get brought a deal today, so I guess that's pretty good. I don't know if it's just that or a combination of lots of different things that I do. At the time, I feel like, and Tim, because you're in that place of, interviewing me, that people, when they know that you're in that place, they want to, they want to work with you. So absolutely, absolutely. If you can put that hat of authority on and be serious and real, I always talk about don't fake it. You can't fake it. You have to be real. If you're new, then say I'm new. If you're not, then you're not. But yeah. So if you are new, can you still start a RIA group and be authentic? Yeah. I know somebody, I'm not going to name a name, who really didn't know a lot about real estate investing at all. But man, she gathered some people around her and put that together and just lifted them up. And she was the most humble, sweet person. And now she's got groups like that all over the United States. So I don't think you have to be a know-it-all and have done 300 deals. I just think you have to be authentic and be ready, to put your time and effort into making it happen.
Right. Yeah, with technology nowadays, it's actually like a lot easier, right? Especially like you mentioned earlier with meetup.com. So I'm starting, well, I've been doing private lending, but and I had this idea, I want to get more people to know that I do private lending. So I started a meetup group. And this past Saturday was our very first meeting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How many people showed up?
We had 20. Well, no, actually, because it was here in Houston. 20 people showed up, and the cool thing was a third of the people that show up are private lenders themselves, and the other 2/3 are people looking for private money.
Right.
And I was like, wow, just in one meeting, I have a good source to have more private lenders on my team, and then have a good source of borrowers too. And so,
exactly.
Yeah. So I told everybody, we're gonna do it as a monthly meetup. But yeah, that's the power of technology in today's market.
It is, and you're so eloquent and so good at talking. I think it's important for someone to take a few minutes to write down their little spiel, 30-second commercial, a little bit, whatever, and then get really confident about presenting yourself. Don't just show up and what do you do? It doesn't draw people to you when you're not clear on your intention. So if I had to give 2 pieces of advice, I would say get clear on your intention by writing down, 3 or 4 sentences you would say if somebody says what you do. And then secondly, say it in the mirror. That's the other tool, a mirror. Right?
That's good. Yeah, and just so everyone knows too, kind of like what happened with your first deal where things kind of unravel itself as you went along, right? This meetup thing was the same thing for me. When I first set it up, I was like, I wonder what am I going to say to them? What am I going to say that this group is about? Because I was a little bit unsure about, do I make it more for active investors? Do I make it more for private lenders? So it's like, I was like sort of that kind of mix in between. Like, do I go for borrowers or do I go for private lenders? And then, so that way
they both come.
Yeah, So yeah, I myself wasn't clear on
your intent.
the purpose of the group and what I was gonna say until the morning of.
Oh, that's funny. Oh man! It worked out.
Yeah, it all worked out just perfectly. It was really cool.
Well, a lot of people call like ads on Zillow or Craigslist to sellers, and they think they're calling sellers. Well, guess what you find when you call? And you know what I'm going to say. You're finding investors. Sometimes advertising. So it's kind of the same thing. You may have the intention of going to find a property and then you end up, I make friends with another investor. That's good too, right? So did you decide to go after lenders or did you decide to go after, or did you just kind of decide to balance it?
Yeah, so it kind of balanced it, but the main message, the message is a private, I call it a private money meetup. So, that name was generic enough. Yeah, generic enough to attract both sides because
perfect.
Yeah, so because my main goal for that meetup is to attract private lenders, because I see that the future of where it's going to go is it's going to turn into like a hard money lending business for me, which I want those people to be on my team,
right?
To be on my investors, because I think finding borrowers is going to be the easier part of the equation.
Right.
But by calling it private money meetup, like the borrowers.
Right, exactly. People always have the illusion that the money is the hardest part. When it is a part that needs to happen, I think finding deals, in my opinion, is the big all-consuming time. When you find the right deal, money will come, right? You're the hard money lender. You'll lend it to me,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So,
Right. Yep, yep. Right, awesome. So besides besides the direct mail that you do and the bird dog, I know you also buy at the auction. Do you find good deals there in today's market down there?
yeah, I do, but I wouldn't recommend this for, you have to have kind of a strong stomach for it. And there's a lot of due diligence to be done before, because you could get really snowed very easily. Because when you buy down there, you're buying all liens, current condition, and the houses aren't always open. So there's a lot of risk if you don't do it right. And I do it right. I'm a very conservative buyer in all my purchases. I don't throw my money away. So, yeah, a lot of people think, oh, I'll just go down to auction.com and go down and buy a house. But, ooh, boy, I see a lot of people overpaying, number one, which they can have it. I'm not overpaying. We're on the 7th year since, let's see, it was 2009, I think, when the peak of the market. In my area, we have surpassed the peak that we were at before. So the way I see it is you need to be very careful right now and not there's deals everywhere. I bought 4 last week, but you want to be but buy smart. And I find when people go to the auction, they get caught up in the auction environment and they overpay, and they don't really know what I know, because I do my due diligence, the liens that are on it, or the standing of the loan, or the condition of the inside of the house, or the condition of the tenants, squatters that are living there, or whatever. So, yeah, you want to be careful. I have a team of people that do that for me. Like I said, I would never recommend an inexperienced investor to go down and buy on the auction, ever. Now, show up at the auction, watch what happens, learn, take time, get a coach or a mentor that is actually willing to walk you through that process, maybe. But yeah, I see a lot of accidents. And, once you pay that cash, it's yours. There's no going back. So, and it's cash down there. Everybody's walking around with $500,000 in their, literally cash in their cashier's checks. But cash, yeah.
Down at the auction here in Texas, our auction is on the first Tuesday of each month. So this past Tuesday, I was down there at the auction, hanging out with a couple of friends of mine that buys down there. And behind me was an owner of a hedge fund. And they bought 20-something properties. So that means
they overpaid. And they probably overpaid on all of them. Yep.
Yeah, they do pay big bucks for it. Well, their strategy is different. They buy and hold. So all their properties are rental properties. So there's a very specific type of properties that they were looking for down there. But yeah, they bought over $3 million worth of properties down there.
Yeah, it happens. We have an auction almost every day here, though. Yeah, so we have now auction.com only twice a month, but general auctions from trustee sales are almost every day. Not a deal every day, but there's houses down there. Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, every area is different. You gotta know your areas. I just can't stress enough how important having a mentor or coach that's experienced in your area, that knows what's going on and how to teach you in those different things. Now, I teach students that live in New York, which that's a weird place to buy houses. I would never recommend that either. It's expensive. Have you ever do you understand that closing process? Oh, yeah. New York has attorneys and thousands of dollars, and it's crazy. But anyway, I have students all over the place. But I do find when I am able to actually coach students in my backyard, I'm in California, anywhere in the state of California, I understand this state. And I understand there's general guidelines to follow in real estate. But when you're looking at specifics like what you're just talking about, it's nice to have someone that knows the area. That's where meetups come in handy. And that's what I'm talking about.
Now, Tamera, earlier, before we started recording, we talked a little bit about women in investing. There's not enough women in investing. What do you have to say to all the women out there listening on this call right now?
where are you? Why do I have to work with all these men? There's nothing and no reason at all why a woman or a man or anybody of any, anyone can do it. I mean, I was broke and, just off of an accident, working a full-time job. If I can do it, you can do it. So it does take steps and effort. But if you have the dream, I guess I want to say that we talked about my daughter, but me being able to be there for her. I have an office, but I'm never there. I like to work from home. I have an office of staff now doing a lot of the steps for me. But we talk on Skype and on the phone, just like you, Tim, probably. You're not probably in front of your staff, and your helpers. But I've got to raise my daughter. I've got to stop what I'm doing and take her places. I've got to, and not only that, I was able to afford to put her in a private college. And, having that freedom. I've been in Fiji for months at a time, buying houses from there. I mean, it just, the freedom that this business gives a mom, and you're asking women, is amazing. And I just, I would recommend it, to other women. And I would love for you to join me, so I wouldn't be the only one down there, up there, down there at the court steps is how I look at it as a woman. Yeah, it's just crazy. You're right. There's no women down there.
Well, Tamera, thank you so much. This has been an amazing interview. I'm sure the listeners, would love to find out how they can get a hold of you, reach out to you, learn from you. What would you like to send them?
I have a 30-day email training that's free that kind of gives people at least an idea if it's something they want to do. And I call people who join that my posse. So is it okay? Do you care if I give them that? I wasn't sure, but okay. www.reiposse.com, reiposse.com, and you'll get some free training. And then from there, if you want to do more, there's always more to be done. But in the meantime, I think you'll enjoy what's offered there at no charge.
And that's such a funny name. REI Posse.
Yeah. Join my posse. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Right, awesome.
Men, women, children, bring them.
Right. Who's your youngest, or how old is your youngest student you've ever had?
I've actually just had a 20-year-old college student that just made his first $4,000 on a wholesale deal after only 3 weeks of training. So that was pretty exciting. Yeah, I mean, for a college kid to make that kind of money, working part-time and going to college, he's pretty pumped. Wholesaling.
That's huge. Yeah, that's awesome. Wow. All right. Thank you so much, Tamera. I really, really appreciate you. I love this interview. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I was honored to be invited. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Nice meeting you.
Yes. All right, everyone. I hope you gotten as much value out of this interview as I have. If you have, make sure you give us a good rating, give us good feedback, share it with your friends. And go out there, reach out to Tamera, get started in real estate investing. And with that, happy investing. We'll see you on the next interview. All right, everybody.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
And that's our show for today. If you have any questions or would like to get further training from Tim Mai, please visit our website at www.dodeals.com/Tim.